And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of As Good as It Gets. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with my great friend Derrick Gervin, former New Jersey Nets shooting guard, coming to you on a Friday. We've been away a couple of weeks. I've been on the DL, but we're back and ready to rock and roll. And D, it's a good time to be back, man, because it's a whole lot to talk about in the world of sports. Man, you got the college football playoffs uh, and the controversial decision to leave out an unbeaten Power Five school. Uh, uh, Instead, Alabama got the nod. I'll get your thoughts on that. That was clearly, in my mind, a business decision because Alabama has that brand name, uh, and they have Nick Saban and what he means to uh, so many in the world of college football in terms of that, once again, brand name, Alabama football, Nick Saban. Uh, and NFL season's heading down the home stretch. And really, we're going to jump in on this IST, the in-season tournament, and the NBA, and get your thoughts on that. But were you surprised last week when Florida State got left out of the college football playoffs?
Well, let's just say I wasn't too happy about it. First of all, let me say good evening. I'm glad to be back, Ricky, and glad to see you, of course. Oh, man, I wasn't too happy about it. I'll say that. I wasn't surprised because I heard the same thing you heard for 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the selections, that Florida State could be hurt because they lost their top quarterback. And what I didn't like about it is you ask these young people to go out there and give their all and do the best they can do, and then you let the chips fall where they may. And so they go all year, even after losing their quarterback, they continue to win. The committee started using the excuse about they didn't know if Florida State could score enough to compete with the other big boys. And I thought that was a little wrong still because Florida State did everything you asked. They went out and they won week after week. They competed. They went 13-0, and I mean, what more could they do? So yeah, that kind of bothered.
Yeah, same here, man. I mean, but they saw that next year because they're expanding the tournament. But it just shows you how big business. I know it still don't make it right, D. I'm with you on that. It just shows you how big business impacts college athletics today.
Here was the biggest problem I had with it. Okay, they go 13-0. They go undefeated. Okay, I can see. I understand Alabama beat Georgia, and Georgia had won 29 in a row or whatever. So I understand that. So I can see either Alabama or Texas going in. But to put both of them in, I didn't understand that because now you drop Florida State down to number 5. And you say Florida State doesn't measure up to the big boys, but yet they don't measure up. But yet you drop Georgia from number 1 down to all the way down to number 6.
Yeah.
Now, if Florida State doesn't measure up, how could they be rated above Georgia? I just don't understand it overall.
You know what? That is really a great point that a lot of people hadn't talked about. I hadn't thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right. And they are the 2-time defending champs, have won 29 straight games. But they tried to say they're punishing, well, the fact that Florida State didn't have their starting quarterback is the main reason. So they're not really the same team. But you got to give that team a chance, no matter what. What if Alabama's quarterback get hurt on the first play? I mean, that's just football.
They were rated number 7 and number 8, though. That's the problem I have is they were rated number 7 and 8. Texas was 7, Alabama was 8. So how could they also just jump over Oregon, teams like that? Yeah. I understand it's a business, but I mean, at some point it has to make sense. And I don't like the funny smell, Ricky, because it being the last time they had the 14 college playoff, and all of a sudden on the last year, you pull off something that's unprecedented. You move the number 7 and number 18 into your top 4.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, this is what we got. What do you think? Is it too early to think about who's the favorite to win this thing?
Well, I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
go.
have, but and D, you know they had to look at the fact that you're gonna have Michigan and Alabama playing in the first round, two blue blood uh, college football programs, and of course it'll be Texas and Washington in the other game.
Well, with Michigan and Alabama, it's intriguing because you have the two teams with the most wins in NCAA college football history. So to see them going against each other is, I like that. And then, of course, Nick Saban coached at Michigan State. So there's some ties there. He's been around and whatever. And to see him go against Jim Harbaugh, who I feel are two of the best coaches, I think that's going to be an interesting game. I'm hoping that Michigan can pull it off, but something tells me that Alabama's playing on another level right now. I will give them credit for that. So I'm going to say that I believe the maize and blue, but I think Alabama's going to be able to win that game.
What about Washington and Texas?
I think Washington can get Texas. I think Texas is overrated. Texas struggled against teams like Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, who wasn't even the team that we're used to seeing in Oklahoma. So Texas has had some struggles. I think their schedule was overrated. They didn't play the greatest schedule, and I'm going to go with Washington to defeat the Longhorns.
So you like Alabama to win the whole thing?
Yeah, I got to go with the Tide. I just think with Nick Saban having that experience, much experience as he has, and if you look at the quarterback, Jalen Milrose, I believe is his name. He's actually been playing at a very high level. Week after week, he's continued to get better. And, of course, we know they have a stout defense, and I just think they're going to get a couple of breaks. That's something that will get them over the hump at the end, possibly. I think it'll be a good game, but yeah, I see them edging Michigan out.
And I'll tell you what, you got to give Saban credit for, well, I'm sure he plays a big role in that, in developing Milrose, because at the beginning of the year, he looked lost out there. In fact, he got benched. He benched him, and I remember him saying at the time that you earn your playing time in Alabama through the way you practice and perform. So, he must have stepped up this practice, because he definitely stepped up his performance. But to me, what he was saying is that he holds that team accountable, Derrick.
He benched Jalen Hurts. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you go back, I mean,
that's a great point.
Hey, so we can bench Jalen Hurts. Hey, Milrose better get in line. And he seems to have gotten in line. He's played really well, and they put some plays in that suit his style of play. So Coach Saban and his offensive coordinator have somewhat come out of their comfort zone, and they switched it up a little bit. It's not the normal Alabama offense. This guy can run. He's good getting out up and down the field, running the ball. And to see Coach Saban give him the opportunity to just go out and play and be himself, that's been something that's been kind of surprising to see, but it's worked.
Yeah, that is another great point. Hey, bro, if you bench Jalen Hurts, anybody can be benched.
Anybody.
Yeah, man. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there as we head into the college football postseason. And next year they'll be expanding. And it'll always be a little controversy, but it'll be a little different when the 9th and 10th team gets left off. When instead of an unbeaten Power 5 conference champion gets left off. Let's touch on the NFL, man. Just get caught up because we've been away a couple of weeks, heading down the home stretch, and what I see, Derek, is every week it's a new team of the week. Until last week, Philadelphia looked unbeatable until they got ran out of their home field by the San Francisco 49ers, who early in the year looked unbeatable until they lost 3 straight games. So I think a lot of the NFL is week to week, of course, because anybody's capable of beating you, and who is healthy more so than anything.
Well, for me right now, looking at what's going on, it's been very exciting. It seems like the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Eagles have distanced themselves from the pack. And what's interesting is the 49ers went through a 3-game losing streak, as you mentioned, but with their core 5, I'll call them, with the same particular 5 guys, and that includes Deebo Samuel, those guys are undefeated. Brock Purdy has not lost when he's had all his core players. So I think that's important. And to see them go out and put up 42 on the Cowboys, 42-10, and then you see them come back weeks later and put up 42-19 on the Eagles, the teams that are supposed to be their toughest rivals. I think that's very impressive to me. And if I were to pick right now, looking at what I'm seeing right now, the 49ers look like the cream of the crop. I mean, they went into Philadelphia. They talked the talk, Ricky, and they backed it up. They walked the walk. They said they were the best team. As we know, last year in the playoffs, they lost 3 quarterbacks, or 2, lost 2, and had to go to the 3rd-string quarterback or something crazy like that. So they weren't a team that was at their best. It wasn't the full 49ers team. So to come out and play as impressively as they did, basically a smash mouth game. They dominated the Eagles, and I thought it was very impressive on both sides of the ball. All 3 phases, the special teams as well.
Yeah, for sure, D. Hey, are you worried about Kansas City at all?
I'm not worried about them because I didn't believe in them a lot this year anyway. They kind of like my Golden State Warriors of this year and the Milwaukee Bucks. I just don't think they measure up to the other teams. I don't think they're the same team they were last year. Mahomes has been a little more up and down. Usually during this course of the year, all we hear is Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes in the MVP conversation, and then there's everyone else. It hasn't been like that this year. I expect that to continue. I just don't believe in Kansas City. I think they've been a little too helter-skelter. But we know they could turn it around. But right now, I wouldn't have Kansas City in my top 3 or 4 teams to win it all.
Who will be your MVP this year, Derek?
And for me, Ricky, that's a tough one because I know a lot of people have talked about Jalen Hurts, but if you look at his touchdown-interception ratio, it's not great. He hasn't thrown on his way to 5,000 yards or anything like that. For me, it honestly would be between Micah Parsons and I got 3 people. not Deebo Samuel, Purdy, and Christian McCaffrey. People seem to not be talking a lot about Christian McCaffrey lately, but I think he's the engine that makes them go. And so I would have right now, if I had to make one pick, if they stop right now, I'm gonna say this, man. People might not believe it, but as we speak right now, my MVP would be out in Dallas, Dak Prescott. I think it's been the most consistent as we've gone closer and closer to the stretch.
Yeah. What about Tyreek Hill in Miami? What he's been able to do this year?
I love because he's going for 2,000 yards. He's got a really good chance to be the first wide receiver to ever get 2,000 yards. And the way he's been playing has been very, very impressive. Tua has looked good getting the ball to him. They've opened up their offense. They get down the field. They like that fast break team in the NBA. So Tyreek would be in my voting. But as you know, Ricky, when's the last time we had someone other than the quarterback actually win the MVP? So that's why I wouldn't weigh too heavily on Tyreek, I would have to go with a quarterback. Even Micah Parsons is going to be hurt because I believe it's going to come down to a quarterback as it's done in the past.
Yeah. Hey, Buffalo, man, 6-6. You know, they are right now, they're on the outside looking in for a playoff berth. Is that a surprise to you?
Yes, because I had very high expectations for Buffalo, and to see them 6-6, Josh Allen has turned the ball over the most, I believe, in the last either 4 or 5 years. Now he's led the league in turnovers, so that's a bad thing. And it seems that he has a problem. Him and Stephon Diggs can't seem to get on the same page, and that seemed to have filtered into the locker room. Their decision, it kind of reminds me of Draymond and Jordan Poole last year with Golden State. And so that seems to be bothering them. And they just can't get on the same page. And the defenses, they have too many breakdowns. So it's 6-6 surprises me. I think they're a much better team than that. But I guess if you look at it, they're not. They are who they say, who we say they are.
But I've heard you say before, teammates don't have to like each other.
They have to respect each other. It doesn't look like sometimes those guys respect each other. If you see Stephon Diggs on the side sometimes, he's very animated. And, you know, of course, the media is going to focus, the cameras are going to focus in on that kind of stuff. And it's something that's been going on all season. Actually started last season in the playoffs. They started having a problem, a little friction between those two guys. And they haven't been able to solve it on the offensive side of the ball. And it's carried over. It looked like it's filtered over to the defense and to the other players. And they don't look like the same team.
And can you break that down a little bit for our viewers out there? What the difference in, hey, me and you teammates, I mean, we don't really do the same kind of things. And I mean, you're not one of my favorite persons, but if you open in the corner for a 3 and that's your shot, I'm gonna throw you the ball.
You just said it, Rick. You just answered the question yourself, sir. I think sometimes, you know, guys have personal feelings, as you just said. And Josh, I'm gonna be honest, because I'm a Josh Allen fan. There have been times where it looked like he could have got the ball to Stephon Diggs, and he didn't go to him. And you know, football quarterback is complicated. Just that millisecond. Yeah. You miss it within that little millisecond, it changed the whole dynamics of the offense. And sometimes it looked like to me Josh is not focused on Diggs. And to me, that's crazy because he's a top 5 receiver in the league as we speak. And sometimes when you have a top 5 receiver, you might even have to force feed him sometimes. And I don't see Josh doing that. If you look at some of the amount of catches Diggs has had in the last 4 to 5 weeks, it's been a dramatic drop off from the first 6 games of the season. And it seemed to have bothered him. Josh's confidence seems to be a little rattled now from him looking Stephon Diggs off, and Josh hasn't been able to get back in rhythm, and it's hurt the entire team.
Yeah, I get that. Hey, man, I want to move on to the NBA as I watch the final seconds tick off in Orlando, where the Orlando Magic will win 123-89 over my Detroit Pistons. There is only our 19th straight victory. Well, they just gave you 2 points, so we're going to lose 123-91. Jack, when you lose 19 straight games, everybody's the problem, right?
Ricky, they've lost so much, you called it 19 victories. I think it's sad because I like Monty Williams. I know it's still early, but I thought with Monty coming there, they would at least have a lot more cohesion. The biggest problem I have with the team is who's in the starting lineup from one night to the next. how can you get any chemistry if you don't have a solid core lineup of the first 7 or 8 guys you're going to play? They all got to know their role. Who's basically going to get in the game at a certain point in the game? Who's going to start the game? Who's going to finish the game? Who's going to be in there during the middle of the game? And they don't seem to have figured that out. Is Killian Hayes going to play more, or is Jaden Ivey? I'm just trying to figure Monty out. I know it's a different situation than Phoenix. He's got a lot more younger guys, but at some point they have to get some kind of chemistry. But that can't start until you develop a consistent lineup.
I mean, it just seems that they have enough talent to win one game in the NBA. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, so far, 19 times I've been wrong.
Well, Ricky, they benched. Didn't they bench Sword Thompson? That's one thing I don't understand. They brought him and Ivy off the bench.
Jaden Ivey. I mean, he's got James Wiseman hardly plays. Bagley was playing well. He benched him. I mean, the guy that plays a lot is Isaiah Stewart. I mean, I don't see that. The guy plays hard, but it's not productive.
They won like 3 games, Ricky, since they got rid of Sadiq Bey. And I'm not saying he was the glue, but I'm just saying they haven't, ever since they let him go to Atlanta, it's been a rocky road. And I'm hoping they can get it changed this year, get it fixed. But, man, 19 in a row, that's a lot of losses. You're looking at them and the Spurs, that's a lot of losses in a row.
That's a lot of losses. But I don't think there's any comparison with what's happening in San Antonio, because Wembanyama is going to be just a league dominant player, and they're going to win a lot of games with him as they continue to build that team around him.
Well, yeah, hey Ricky, but in Detroit, I know Bogdanovich has been out of the lineup, so I'm just trying.
Third game back tonight.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to work, because him and Cade, to me, are both guys that are playmakers, but they're similar. He's a better shooter than Cade from deep, but to me, they're a little too similar. I don't understand what everybody's role is in Detroit. I haven't heard Monty come out publicly and say this guy's role is to do this, this guy's role is to do that. Sometimes that's what it takes. I see the Clippers kind of going through that right now with Ty Lue and with Harden being there, but you got to define guys' roles and make sure they stick to those roles. And right now, I'm still confused. I don't know what the roles are in Detroit, each individual player.
Well, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about a team that has lost 19 straight games. But I do wish this team, and you used to talk about this kid before anybody I know, and that's Halliburton, who I think the rest of the NBA is finally getting to see in the IST tournament. He is playing tremendous basketball for the Indiana Pacers, who are going to face the Los Angeles Lakers tomorrow for the NBA Cup. And I'm like, man, our fortunes would sure be a lot better in Detroit if we'd have drafted him instead of Killian Hayes. But what did you see about Halliburton early on in when he was drafted, Derrick? Because I watch him shoot, and he's looked like he's got a little set shot, and he's not the fastest guy out there. I mean, he doesn't jump out the gym or nothing. He's just very good at what he does.
I saw a guy that's basically fundamentally sound. It wasn't because of his jump shot when I talked about him, that's for sure. But he's actually turned into a very good shooter. The shot is awkward. I'm a guy that's an expert on awkward jump shots because I had one. But he does everything well, Ricky. I mean, he plays hard. He just has a certain presence about him. Rick Carlisle was my assistant coach with the Nets. And so to see Rick, that means Boston Celtics heritage, basically. Rick was under the tutelage of Bill Fitch.
Yeah.
So to see Rick come out of his comfort zone and put the ball in Tyreek's hands, his hand is Ricky. If you look at their team, they're a team that they don't defend a lot, but they're basically playing an ABA style of ball. Can you outscore us? And they trying to get the ball up the floor in like 2.5 seconds. And that's been impressive. It's been fun. It seems to keep all the guys engaged. They got a very deep bench. They got a guy like Obi Toppin who's running the floor now, creating some excitement. Ben Matherin has another year under his belt after an excellent rookie year. You got even T.J. McConnell. They got a combination of guys that have played well. Buddy Hill is still shooting the ball. They just play well. Miles Turner's been defending the basket. They just have a solid team. And Tyrese is very confident in his abilities, and it's rubbed off on the rest of the guys. And I think this is something that's going to last in the very near future. I think we're looking at a team that's definitely on the rise.
And you made a good point about Rick Carlisle, because he has really changed his philosophy. He was a defensive-minded coach for a lot of his career. When he was in Detroit, they had good teams in Detroit. Those were defensive-minded teams because that was the personnel he had. He had Ben Wallace and guys like that who could guard you.
Hey, Ricky, they took 102 shots the other night. And that's getting the ball up. And they made a very high percentage. So it's a style that seems to be working right now. They don't just settle for the three, though. I find that interesting. They take a lot of twos as well. You know, they attack the basket. Halliburton gets in the paint either to find someone running down the lane, a Miles Turner, or he's hitting guys in their spots for these spot-up threes. They look like a team that's legit. I will still have a little some questions defensively, how they're going to shore up the paint a little more. But overall, I like their style of play, and I believe in Tyrese Halliburton, and I just think they're going to be a team that's going to contend in the Eastern Conference.
And this experience playing on this stage, because Derrick, I think the in-season tournament has been pretty good, man. The players have really gotten into it.
Hey, Rick, it's been excellent, man. It's just like we questioned the bubble at first. I mean, the play-in games, it's the same thing. People, sometimes now you have to give it a shot before you criticize it. So I go in this time with an open mind just to see. I didn't understand it at first because they had questioned some players leading up to the tournament, and the guys were saying, well, it creates some excitement because it gives the fans a chance to see some more games, some high-level games, high-intensity games. But it's been absolutely fantastic, man. To see all the guys buy in, it looked like every player in the league enjoyed having the opportunity to compete. And I'm not going to even say for the $500,000. I know each player of the championship team gets $500,000, and that'll benefit some of the guys who are not on the higher end of the pay scale. But if you look at it overall, it's been very competitive. It's kind of got that feel like the bubble that they had in 2020. Everyone went out and gave it their all, and you see the Lakers getting on the road right now. LeBron is playing like he's 28 years old, going on 29, and it's been very exciting for me. It's been nothing but positive reviews for me. I've loved it.
Yeah, who do you like tomorrow?
I'm an Indiana. I'm gonna go with the Pacers, but I'm afraid because if you got the Lakers right now, they're 14-9. They've been playing better the last 2 or 3 weeks. Jarek Vanderbilt has returned. They just been getting a lot of good play. Austin Reeves has played better lately. AD has been a little more consistent, but LeBron has been carrying the team. And the way Indiana is playing defense right now, I don't think they have anyone that can match up with LeBron one-on-one. And so, anytime you have a situation like that, and the ball is generated, the offense is generated through his hands, I'm gonna have to go with the Lakers to pull it out.
But but D, now I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking you. See, uh, I think Indy's gonna go in there and think we can outscore these guys. We just gonna go in there and yeah, they're gonna get theirs, but we're gonna get ours.
Well, the reason I pick, and you make a lot of sense, but the reason I said the Lakers is because I figure if you're not hitting those shots, and Indiana's been shooting the lights out, and then you know what they have a thing called you come back down to earth. So if they're not hitting those shots, those good shot, open shots, and the Lakers are rebounding the basketball, and they're going to slow it down. The Lakers are not going to try to play at the same pace and try to play like Indiana and Atlanta earlier this year. I believe it was like 157 to 152. I think the Lakers are trying to play more of a half-court game, and so they're going to limit some of those shots that Indiana, some of those opportunities. And that's what I think. They're going to make it more of a half-court game, pick their spots. And here goes the one thing that give me something that makes me say Indiana can win. This was an abomination. The other night, Ricky, I got to mention this. The Lakers shot 49% from three. I don't think they're going to shoot that again. So I think on that end, they could get a Pacers opportunity. But I just think the Lakers are going to score too many points in the paint. And I think that's going to be the difference in the game.
Hey, Derek, I was watching, and usually this time of the year, I'm just kind of checking in on games. I'm always watching my Pistons, even through this stuff. But I got a chance to watch a lot of the game against the Pelicans last night. And, man, I was watching Zion Williamson, who did not have a good game. He had 13 points, only had 8 shots. And he just simply running up and down the floor he labored to do that, Derek. I mean, he let LeBron was just running right by him. LeBron's 40 years old, man, almost. And I'm like, wow. And it's something, again, you have been so on top of a lot of this stuff. When he came into the league, you talked about his ability to stay healthy and his condition, and it's still an issue. And I want to read, I saw that last night, and I read a report today out of the Times-Picayune saying the Times-Picayune newspaper in New Orleans saying the Pelicans are not happy with Zion's conditioning. They've given him $231 million contract. It says Williamson's poor work ethic has been a source of frustration for the Pelicans since they drafted him number 1 in 2019. The Pelicans have tried to surround Williams with veterans who have track records of maximizing their potential. The team signed J.J. Redick in 2019, and they traded for C.J. McCollum in 2022. None of it has had an impact. The Pelicans have repeatedly stressed to Williamson that his diet and conditioning needs to improve. Williamson, according to multiple team sources, Williamson to improve. Multiple team sources have told the Time-Picayune that Williamson doesn't listen. And last night, I could see it as plain as day, Derek.
It doesn't seem to me like he's happy. The conditioning has been a question mark for me since he's entered the league. Even in college, basically at Duke, I question his conditioning and his style of play. But if you look at Zion now, I'm going to say for me, I think he's trying to force his way out of New Orleans. He should be the first option in New Orleans. He's not even their best player right now. He's not even the second best player right now. The 2 best players will be Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCollum. And I thought at the beginning of the season, Ricky, when C.J. was traded to the Pelicans, Zion didn't reach out to him. And normally, when you got your superstar player, they go right away. They immediately welcome another guy that's coming in that's a very good player. And CJ is not a superstar, but he is a star in the NBA. So I thought that was weird from the very beginning. But it just doesn't seem like Zion has that fire. And I think it's because of where he's at. I don't think he likes playing for Willie Green. I don't think he likes being in the city of New Orleans. This is my opinion. And I just think he's trying to force his way out. And the not hustling is only hurting himself and hurting his reputation. I hope he realizes that. But you can only go by what you see. And I don't see a lot of fire coming from out of him. To take 8 shots, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And but a lot of it is because of Zion. He's not actually commanding the ball. And that's part of it. It's not just the team is not looking for him. A lot of times he's not creating space under the basket and making them look inside and find him and demand to get the ball. And so I got to blame him a lot. I just think that he wants to go to New York. I think he wants to be in New York, Madison Square Garden.
And Derek, one thing I noticed defensively, for a greater athlete he is, I mean, jumping, he does not move well laterally. I mean, LeBron had 30 points last night, and a lot of it was because he really wasn't being guarded. I mean, it was such an easy matchup for him.
He's so flat-footed, Ricky. He's used to getting, he's used to trying to block a shot.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, his ability to block shots, sometimes he undercompensates defensively, and he figure he can catch up and block a guy's shot at the last moment. And that doesn't happen a lot. You look at it a lot of times, it's like he's running in quicksand. He's playing defense on his heels. Kind of reminds me of James Harden. He's not sliding his feet. He's not on his toes. And the effort doesn't seem to be there. I mean, you can at least make the effort. And it seems like to me, he just doesn't like. He's surrounded with a very good group of guys, a core group of good players with the Trey Murphys and the Herb Joneses and the Mike Alvarados and all those guys, Valanciunas. So he's got a good roster, but it just, for some reason, he seems to be that odd guy out that doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to take advantage of the situation they currently have, which is a really good basketball team.
And they got a good coach. I think Willie Green is just an excellent coach. And even with all that, Derek, they're 12-11 in the highly competitive Western Conference, in the highly competitive Western Conference. So, man, if they could get him going, but I don't, this is his 5th year in the league. So I think this is what he is now.
Hey, Ricky, have you noticed it's just him and Brandon Ingram? If you watch the two of them together, they don't play well together when they're both on the court. And I don't know if it's I'm the man of the team, or I don't know if they're having that kind of thing that we don't see, who's the guy type thing. But it doesn't seem like they have a lot of chemistry on the court. And I think that's hurt the team. If you really look at their lineup now, and you were to go down and have a piece of paper and write down who you think is their main player, it would be 10 people doing the survey. All of us might have a different answer. One of us might say Zion. One of us going to say CJ. So, yeah, everyone's going to have 3 people pick CJ, 3 people pick Brandon Ingram, and 3 or 4 people pick Zion. And that's never a good thing. That means that they haven't established an identity. And that's the biggest problem I see right now. The team is not established an identity.
Hey, Derek, how surprised are you to see Minnesota sitting atop the West at 16-4? I mean, not only are they at 16, they got a 3-game lead on OKC.
I'm surprised at 16-4. I'm not surprised that they're playing so well because they've been defending. And then when you look at it, they've been a team that's really been a pretty good defensive team. But now you got a guy that's becoming a superstar right under our eyes, right under our noses, and that's Anthony Edwards. Mm-hmm. So it seems like he's brought a lot more confidence to the team. All their role players have accepted their roles. Everyone knows who's the man. It seems like Karl Anthony Towns has been a very good second option. You haven't heard a lot of talk about him trying to be the best 3-point shooter in the league and all that nonsense. They all seem to be in sync. Rudy Gobert is having another outstanding year defensively. And they're just playing consistently. Chris Finch has his team believing that they can compete, and they're competing at the highest level.
Yeah, yeah. The West, you got Minnesota 16-4, OKC. We thought they would be pretty good. They're 13-7. Denver's 14-8, and they're just 5-5 in their last 10 games, and actually lost two straight. They're sitting there. I think they lost some guys. I think losing Bruce Brown was a big
That was
uh,
huge.
loss for them.
You see me, Ricky, shaking my head. Man, I was excited coming into the year. I thought this was going to be a breakout year for Christian Brown. That hasn't happened yet. I know it's still early. I don't like to get in panic mode to at least 30, 40 games. But I'm not liking what I'm seeing right now. They lost Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. And, that was a pivotal move as well, because Jeff would hustle in there and occasionally get you some highlight dunks, and he would get a lot of offensive rebounds running through the paint, getting them extra possession. Right now, they have the young man, rookie Strother has been playing a little bit more. They got Zeke Naji, who's got a lot more play time this year. DeAndre Jordan has been playing more. Reggie Jackson is there. He's had some very good minutes, but the key to me is Jamal Murray. Murray has been injured. He's been in and out of the lineup, and that seems to have affected them a lot. It stopped them from getting their chemistry as fast as they probably would have ordinarily. And then Jokic looked tired to me the other night. They were contesting his shot. He was 9 for 32. And, I've never seen him miss that many shots, but he actually looked fatigued. And I don't think it's because he's not in shape. Well, I know it's not because he's not in shape. It just looks like he has to carry a bigger load right now this year so far. And it seems to be affecting him on both ends of the floor, and it seems to be affecting the team on both ends of the floor. We haven't heard Aaron Gordon's name as much early in the year like we did last year. He had a breakout season. They've just been going through a lot of ups and downs, but the funny thing is they're undefeated at home. As bad as they've been playing, they're still undefeated at home.
That mile high, is it really a difference when you go out there, D?
5,200. You see what they got on that jersey, 5,280 or 260, the mile high. They're a mile above sea level. So, yes, sir, you suck and win. And the second half, it's hard to breathe come that fourth quarter. And all the players know that, and I don't know how you deal with it, but yeah, it definitely makes a difference. You suck and win, and you suck and win early.
We're going to get to the East, but it's just some interesting stuff out West, and it's so funny to see Golden State in the 11th spot, 10-11, and think. This is about who they are now, Derrick. I don't think they're a below 500 team, but I don't think they're a great team anymore.
People were talking like this is the problem with the Warriors this year. They're a guard-oriented team. They have even a couple of the young guys on the bench. One they sent to the G League, Trace Jackson. Davis, I believe his name is Trace Davis. But they got some young guys, but they didn't address their biggest problem last year, and that was rim protection. You got Kevon Looney and you got Draymond, but beyond that, I mean, Dario Saric is more of a scorer. He's not a guy you bring in expected to defend at a high level and be a rim protector. So they didn't address their biggest issue. They went more so with the, I guess, fundamentally sound basketball, where they brought in Chris Paul. And so they traded rim protection for guard play. And that seems to be hurting them. Of course, Draymond in and out the season, those 5-game suspension, that hurt them. They're not the same team without Draymond. And it's putting a heavier burden on Steph because Clay hasn't been the same. Andrew Wiggins has struggled. He's been up and down this year. Gary Payton is injured again. I hope he gets well and can come back and contribute. They've just been up and down. Ever since the James Wiseman situation, it's been like a roller coaster ride for Golden State. I think that's the main reason Bob Myers stepped aside. He saw this day coming. Clay has not been given an extension, renewed his contract. That hasn't happened. Jordan Poole is gone. So they've gone through a transition this year. And they're not shooting the ball well, and they're not defending well. And this put a big burden on Steph. So I think they're one of those teams going to have to make some kind of trade around the trade deadline. We're going to see what kind of move they can pull off.
A team we didn't talk about last year enough, and I thought it was great what they did was Sacramento, and they're hanging in there right now. They're 11-8 and 6-4 in their last 10, and I still think they have a chance to make some noise.
Right now, Ricky, if I had to pick right now, you knowing I'm a Nugget guy, and once I make my pick at the end of the season, at the beginning of the season, I don't change. I picked Denver and Boston to be in the championship, as you know very well. But if I was looking right now and had to make a pick today to come out of the West, I would pick the Sacramento Kings to be the last man standing. And I say that because they've been so consistent overall. 3 of their losses have come against the same team. The New Orleans Pelicans have beaten them 3 times. So sometimes, we say style make games, but against everyone else, they've been pretty consistent. Keegan Murray is having a really good year in his second year. Kevin Porter's playing better. Harrison Barnes seems to be a little more lively after missing that big 3-pointer in the corner that would have eliminated the Warriors last year. Sabonis seems to have toughened up a little bit. And, of course, De'Aaron Fox is having another all-star year. So I think they're going to continue to get better as the season goes on. And I definitely have them as a top 4 team in the Western Conference, without question.
And they got JaVale McGee sitting over there in case they got to deal with the Joker.
He's played well in the limited minutes. Yeah. He's played well. He's a highlight reel. You can throw that alley-oop, Ricky, and he's going to dunk it possibly backwards or something. And he'll also run down and get a block shot. So his energy has helped them a lot. And I just think they're going to be a team that a lot of teams are going to have to deal with to get to the championship.
Yeah. Anybody else out west you want to hit on?
Yes. What's going on? It's kind of like talking about the Nets again, Ricky. But I'm going to go to the Valley of the Sun. And KD, can KD get a break, man? I mean, how many teams can you go to? And you expected to play with stars, guys that are on your level. I say Bradley Beal, I say somewhat on his level. But you got Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant. And we had all these high aspirations for the team. A new owner, Matt Ishbia, and you bring in a new coach and all that, and you even get these 3 guys on the floor together, man. So that's going to be interesting to see how they're going to play if Bradley Beal and KD and Devin Booker can ever get on the floor together so we can kind of figure out what their identity is.
And see, the thing with Bradley, it's his back, Derrick, and you know how funny those backs can be. Once they start
before the back, it was his leg or something. So it's already they've been playing several weeks now, and I don't even know if those 3 guys have been on the floor together and played a complete game together. It kind of reminds me of Harden, KD, and Kyrie. So the reason I say this is a different situation, though, is because we basically knew what Kyrie was about when he's got the ball in his hands. We knew what Harden was about, and we knew what KD is about. We don't know what Phoenix is about, and that's why I didn't pick them at the beginning of the year. They weren't even a team I mentioned because they had too many questions. We still don't know what kind of team they're going to look like when Bradley Beal is back. Because who's going to have the ball in their hands? Is it going to be Devin Booker the most? Is it going to be Bradley Beal? We don't even know who's going to be their point guard yet. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered in Phoenix.
Yeah. Let's go east and as we head down the home stretch of the show, man. It has certainly been good to get back, D. Uh, and Boston has kind of been at the top since the very beginning of the season. They are 15-5, and they look like the best team in the East. Surprisingly, Orlando is at 15-7, along with Milwaukee, and then you got Philly at 13-7 to round out the top four. But Boston looks better than everybody.
Well, Porzingis got hurt recently, but it's not something that he's going to be out for a long period of time. But they've been they're 7-3 in the last 10 games. They've been kind of up and down. I haven't heard of Jaylen Brown's name as much as we did last year, but that could be a good thing because bringing in Drew Holiday could be taking some of that pressure off of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, with them not having to have the ball in certain situations where they would have had to have it playing with Marcus Smart. So I think Drew is going to be that glue. But of course, the package is for them to be in the champions. It has to be Drew has to do his part, which I'm sure he will. But Porzingis also has to be healthy. And if you look at it, when Porzingis is healthy, Ricky, when you look at any team in the league, no one has a fourth option as good as Kristaps Porzingis. And so if you got a healthy Porzingis and you got an Al Horford, Derrick White, and all those guys, you're talking about some dogs out there. If they're healthy, without question, they would be my pick to come out of the Eastern Conference, no matter what goes on during the year. To me, it will come down. But I'm going to say this, and it might surprise a lot of people. If everything goes according to what I expect and everyone stays healthy, I'm looking at a Boston Celtic, Indiana Pacer, Eastern Conference Final. Yeah, everybody heard that correctly.
Wow. Pacers are up and coming for sure. But I tell you, man, everybody was concerned when Boston lost Marcus Smart, but then they made the move and got Drew Holiday. I thought that was huge because I think he's actually an upgrade over Marcus. He can do all the things Marcus can do and more.
He brings a calming presence, Ricky. If you remember, Ricky, the last couple years, we watched Boston. A lot of turnovers have come off the dribble. Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. Yeah. And as you know, Marcus Smart is not really even a point guard. He's really a two-guard body. And to ask him decisions, I think that was kind of unfair to him. I think he's a great defender, but I think offensively he hurt the Celtics because they needed that guy that's going to calm them down, that calming presence. It's kind of like the Clippers right now. They still don't have that guy who's that calming presence. They lost, like a Chris Paul. And so Boston has that with Drew Holiday. And if you look at Milwaukee, they don't have that. Dame is more of an offensive player. He's not a true point guard. Dame is more of a shooting guard. So I think that's what's going to hurt Milwaukee. And that's why I picked Boston. I just think Drew Holiday and a healthy Kristaps Porzingis is enough for them to get over the hump.
Yeah, Milwaukee's 15-7, but they really haven't looked that great getting there. 15-7 is 15-7. That's a nice start. But I've seen better Milwaukee teams than this one.
They're not defending like they've defended in the past. That's what's hurting them the most.
That's what
they give shots on the other end, and they've also been giving up some uncharacteristic second shots. But if you look at it now, a lot of teams are going at Dame, and that's going to continue on throughout the season. Drew Holiday, guys were trying. They didn't want to. You always were kind of a little leery about putting the ball on the floor when Drew Holiday's anywhere in the area. Teams aren't that way when it comes to Dame Lillard. They're going to actually attack Dame Lillard. They're going to attack him off the dribble, and you're going to have guys that are also going to be trying to post him up in certain situations. So Milwaukee's going to have to get their rotations a little better, start moving a little quicker to close out on these guys, on these shooters. And so it's going to be a process all year defensively. And right now, I don't see them getting a whole lot better that's currently constructed defensively.
And you know what? Indiana went at Dame the other night in that semifinal game. They attacked him down the stretch because that was a close ball game, Derek, with Milwaukee and Indiana. And that fourth quarter, they kind of went after him and pushed their way out to 10 or 12 points. I think they ended up winning by 9 or something.
It's those situational moments, Ricky, that you have to get stopped. Nobody's locking anybody down this year. They're not stopping. But if you can get to be a champion, you have to get what I call the situational stops. And that's what scares me with Milwaukee. And that's what makes me think Boston's going to be successful having a Drew Holiday. And Halliburton is not a bad defender. He'll continue to get better. So the key is having guys that can get stopped. I still have questions about Tyrese Maxey defensively when teams are actually going at him. And so the East is going to be very interesting. But right now, yes, if we had to pick right now, I think Boston is the cream of the crop.
Can Orlando keep this up? They're 15-7.
I think they can keep it up. They don't have that. I like Mr. Franz Wagner been playing well. They got a combination of guys that have been playing well. Ben Carroll's been playing well. The other Wagner brother, they've got a lot of contributions. Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, a lot of guys have contributed. And I think it is something that they can continue all season. They're going to be contending for a top 4 spot in the Eastern Conference. And as you know, when it gets down near the playoffs, it comes down to who's healthy and who gets hot, who gets in the rhythm at the right time. So, yeah, I'm going to take them serious all year and say they're going to be one of the teams contending for a top 4 spot.
And, of course, D, we got to see what moves will be made at the trade deadline, too.
Yes,
to see who will try to fix whatever hole they think they may have and who will be selling some good players.
Zach LaVine is out there, so someone's going to be probably exploring that. And then we're going to find out how much, what's going to happen. I think something's going to happen this year. Either Zion is going to be committed to the Pelicans, or they're going to start thinking about moving him. And they might, behind closed doors, already thinking about it. But we'll learn a lot within this next month of what's going to happen, what kind of season it's going to be.
Yeah. But, dude, the clock is ticking over here. We got to get out of here, man. Definitely great to be back on the air, and we will be back again next week with my great friend Derrick Gervin. I'm Ricky Hampton. See y'all next week. Peace, brother.
I love you, man. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're back.
We're back. See you.